Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of What If Naruto was part of an ancient race. Now, like goal on this video, and since it was yesterday, I'm not going to do much of a recap. I'll just say where I left off, which was Naruto, Kakashi, Hiruzen, and pretty much all those kind of different people, wiping out Danzo and almost the entire route other than a very, very few members who decided to surrender and get arrested or try to reform, or in some cases they were just actually working for Hiruzen in the first place and they just were I don't really like Danzo anymore, so they just kind of let him do what they want. So with that being said, let's jump right back into the what if and begin part 2. So this would help the Uchiha clan out a lot. Since Danzo is gone, that means that that entire thing is just going to be completely gone. However, that does not mean that all of the suspicion from villagers and people like that is gone. So that means that they are probably going to figure out what the actual cause of the Nine Tails attack was. And Naruto decides that what better way to do it than to go to the source. He has the Nine Tails sealed inside of him, and he goes to the Hokage office to ask Hiruzen about being able to communicate with Tailed Beast and how it works. Hiruzen explains Killer Bee, the perfect 8 Tails Jinchuriki who was fighting in the Third War, and explains that he is actually a perfect Jinchuriki and has complete command basically over the 8 Tails, and from what he's heard about it, they can communicate. So if he was able to do this and befriend the Nine Tails Fox, then it would be possible. However, he doesn't, the Nine Tails is supposed to be this demon, so he doesn't think that's going to be possible, but Naruto decides that it might be worth it anyway. So this is pretty shortly after the third Shinobi giant war, so this means that it's not going to be Naruto's just gonna go there and ask. No, he's gonna have to do some investigation, otherwise they're just not gonna tell him, or they might try to kill him, kind of thing. So Naruto disguises himself and heads off on his next mission to find out different details about, what actually happened during the Nine Tails attack, and who caused it, and if it was the Uchiha clan, who specifically was involved and who did it, and stuff like that. So Naruto heads to the rain hidden in the clouds, or lightning village, whatever you actually want to call it, and he disguises himself and begins spying on Killer Bee and the was he the Raikage at this point? Yeah, he was the Raikage at this point, because the third Raikage died during the Third Great Shinobi World War, so yeah, he would, the Raikage would be A at this point, so he would be spying on them and trying to get as much information as possible, and eventually he does hear about something quite interesting. It's pretty much this cave that you can go into, and you can basically communicate and try to tame your tailed beast if you are strong enough to do it. Now, obviously, Naruto thinks he's going to be strong enough to do this. He's high Kage level at this point. So he decides that, hey, he's going to give this a shot. He, continues spying and eventually does learn the location of where this actual cave is supposed to be behind this waterfall, and decides to head over there. However, first, Naruto has to deal with himself. So this means that another version of Naruto would come out, this evil, or not necessarily evil version of Naruto, but one that is Naruto's more subconscious side, that now he's going to have to deal with in order to progress and to get stronger. So weeks would go by, and they would continue fighting and fighting and fighting, and nobody would ever be the winner. Naruto would keep drawing, because they're the same person. Eventually, though, Naruto realizes what the point of this, I guess you could say, test is to master himself and to accept himself. So that's exactly what Naruto does. Similar to what, the actual Naruto does, he just accepts his emotions and doesn't pretend like he doesn't feel them anymore. And this means that Naruto's mind is, or not really similar to what the actual Naruto did, because now this version of Naruto is quite different, and now he's going to be even more different because he accepted all of those negative feelings So, you know, Naruto might be a little bit of a dick when it comes to battle and stuff like that, but, you know, all around he's a nice guy. He's not gonna fucking spare you if, you know, you try to kill him or anything like that. Like, he's not like the actual Naruto who's, like, trying to befriend everybody. No, he doesn't really care about that. He's probably just gonna kill you if you try to do anything to him or his friends. So, that being said, Naruto manages to get through the waterfall and gets into the cave, where he puts his head in the thing, or whatever it actually is, and the gate opens up for Naruto to walk into that room to try to be able to control the Nine Tails. So, Naruto sits down and begins meditating, quickly entering his mindscape and meeting with the Nine-Tailed Fox in front of him. Now, Kurama is not really too hateful of Naruto at this point, because Naruto is quite different from most of the different people that, you know, he's actually been inside of. Not only is he really powerful, but Naruto actually does have a really strong amount of negative feelings towards those that are his enemies, which is, you know, very similar with Kurama. Whereas the original Naruto was just like, you know, he didn't really care. He wanted everybody to, like, be reformed and, you know, try to do like that, because that was his Nindo way. But no, not this Naruto. So Kurama doesn't have as much of a, like, you know, struggle with Naruto, but obviously they're still gonna fight because that's kind of like the entire point of it. Eventually, they get to the point, because, come on, Naruto is so much stronger than he was in the original. He's probably around where he was during, like, KCM 2. Like, not KCM 2 Sage Mode, just normal KCM 2. So, honestly, pretty easily, he is able to take down, you know, not like Kurama, with his vast array of abilities that he has as well, because, you know, he has all 5 chakra natures, and because of his massive potential, he's easily able to learn different kinds of jutsu. So, pretty easily, Naruto is able to put the Nine Tails down, and he's trying to, you know, like, control him, but then he realizes this isn't going to be the way to do it, because, like, even if Naruto has control over Kurama's chakra, that doesn't mean Kurama's gonna tell him stuff about what happened, because why would he if he doesn't like Naruto, if he forced him to do this? So, he decides to do something similar to what he did with himself, or his, you know, true or negative emotions, and try to accept the Nine Tails Fox, starting by asking if he has a name. Now, obviously, Kurama hearing this is, like, massively surprised. Like, that was, like, one of his big things, is, like, everybody just called him the demon, or the Nine-Tailed Fox, or this, or that. Nobody actually, like, saw him as the actual creature. They just saw him as, or, like, an actual thing. They just saw him as a beast, or a demon, kind of thing like that. Now, with Naruto saying this, that means that immediately Kurama is going to warm up to him a little bit, but that doesn't mean he's just gonna immediately be all like buddy, pal with him. But he would be, you know, enough so that he decides to tell Naruto what actually happened during the Nine Tails attack, because he knows that that's what Naruto is there for. And, you know, to him, it's not really that much of a big deal to tell him, because that just means that Naruto is going to be working towards trying to, destroy the enemy. So, you know, he fucking hates the Uchiha, or, you know, Obito and Madara specifically more so, but he doesn't like, you know, any of them really in general, so he decides to tell Naruto what happened. It was Madara Uchiha. So, with Naruto hearing this, he is absolutely shocked. Naruto's been in the ninja world for years at this point. He has absolutely heard of the legends of Madara. And with him hearing this, it confirms his suspicions that it's not actually the Uchiha clan that is responsible for this, because Madara is more of his own person. But one thing he doesn't get is how Madara is still alive, and Kurama doesn't really have an answer for him for that, because he wouldn't really know that, you know, Madara is attached to the fucking tree. So, you know, that doesn't really, you know, that entire thing doesn't really happen. Or he was. I don't think he isn't anymore, but, you know, he was. So, with Naruto learning this, He then exits the cave and heads back to the Leaf Village and arrives there pretty shortly after. When he does arrive there, he goes immediately to the Hokage office, closing all the doors and telling Hiruzen to get rid of his Anbu because this is like big stuff that he's learned. Hiruzen does so, like making it so everybody leaves, and Naruto explains to him the situation. It wasn't the Uchiha clan in general that did it, it was Madara Uchiha that did it, apparently. So, with Hiruzen hearing this, he asks how Naruto got this information, because obviously Naruto hasn't told him about how the entire mission went yet, and that's when Naruto describes the mission. He explains how he was spying on the Eight Tails and the Raikage and heard of this cave. I think it's Ryuchi Cave or something like that. I can't really remember. But he ended up going there after confronting his feelings and Kurama's feelings. He was able to get this information out of him. Now, with Hiruzen hearing this, he decides that it is time to start training up the younger shinobi. So, with the Uchiha massacre no longer going to be happening, now, who exactly is going to be the trainer? Actually Naruto, because he is the strongest one in the village. So, who is going to be training with Naruto? Itachi, Kakashi, Shisui, and Might Guy. Now, you may be wondering, why would they include Might Guy here? Because, he's pretty young at this point. He probably only has up to maybe 4 or 5 gates because of how old he is. And that is because he would be able to teach other people the gates. Most likely, with the massive taijutsu god that he is able to teach everybody there the first, let's say, 3 gates in around 3 years of training time. Now, this means that by this point in time, Itachi and Shisui are both around 14 years old at this point, and Naruto would be an actual adult, same with Kakashi at this point. So, now what is going to actually happen here? Well, Obito has his sources, and the Akatsuki is already formed at this point, and they realize very quickly that the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is getting strength way faster than it should be, and it needs to be, everything needs to be done right now, otherwise this plan is not going to work. So, they go for all of the different Jinchuriki as soon as they possibly can. Now, Gaara and everybody else is already born at this point. They're not, that old yet, but, they are born. They're probably, 6 or 7. So, all of the Jinchuriki would honestly pretty easily be captured because they aren't as strong as they would be in Shippuden by the time when they would be normally. So, pretty much every single tailed beast would be captured really easily. A little bit more difficulty with B, but, Pain or Itachi or Kisame. Maybe not Kisame. I don't know about Kisame, but pretty much, the top 3 would easily be able to take down B. And this just leaves the Nine Tails, as, the final, Jinchuriki that they need to get in order to do this. And this is where an all-out war would begin. Every single Akatsuki member shows up at the Leaf Village, including Obito, who is, still disguised as Madara. They have the Gedo statue with 8 of the 9-tailed beasts inside of it, and they have a small portion of the Nine Tails chakra thanks to Ginkaku and Kinkaku because of Orochimaru's help. So if they really needed to, they could summon the Gedo Mazo at this point. Now, Naruto has completely befriended Kurama, and he has learned Sage Mode at this point. So, Naruto's a little bit stronger. So, remember from what I said before, that Naruto in base was about KCM2 level? So now, Naruto in base, say KCM2 Sage Mode, just to keep it a little bit simple. When Naruto goes KCM, he gets stronger than that. When he goes Sage Mode, he gets stronger than that. When he opens up the 3rd gate, he gets stronger than that. So, very quickly, most of the Akatsuki members, other than Obito, would be completely gone. And remember, Itachi is not part of the Akatsuki at this point, because, the Uchiha massacre never happened, so we would just be Obito as the only Uchiha, however Nagato would still be there. So, everybody would be completely wiped out, with the one exception being Obito, who would then realize that he needs to activate the final stage of his plan. Summoning the Ghetto Mazo once again, he quickly transforms it into the Ten Tails, a little bit of a weaker version, but it's about as strong as it was when Obito absorbed it in the first place, because, you know, it just doesn't have most of the Nine Tails chakra, so yeah. And with this actually happening, Obito would also do one other thing. He would revive Madara with the Renegon that he has from Nagato's dead body, after he got, you know, absolutely thrashed by Nagato, Guy, Kakashi, and all of them. So, with him having, you know, the Renegon at this point, like I said, he would use the reanimation jutsu in order to bring the actual Madara back. He then gives Madara his eye back, and he takes, you know, the Kamui eye back, and because he did in the original survive Kamui, I'm not Kamui, sorry, the reanimation, he'd probably survive it here too, at least for a little bit, and he just kind of absorbed the Ten Tails. During this entire fight, Naruto has been absolutely fucking shitting on Obito, so the seal on his heart has already been destroyed, so Obito would just kinda absorb the Ten Tails, and that would completely heal him, so he wouldn't really have to worry about anything like that anymore. And this would also activate both the Renegon and, you know, that kind of stuff too. So, now, with Obito being the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, Madara is, like I said, still revived, but he doesn't really have any eyes or anything like that, he just has Sage Mode. So he wouldn't really be too much of an issue for Naruto. Everybody else he'd probably shit on, but Naruto specifically, even in, like, just normal Sage Mode, would probably be able to kill him, like, pretty easily. So, yeah, that's about, like, where we are at this point, and in KCM2, Naruto would easily be able to kill the Ten Tails Jinchuriki as well. So, this is where something interesting happens. Something out of the ordinary for the normal Naruto universe. Remember how I said there were other ancient beings? Well, they're about to come into play. 2 of them, to be specific, leaving just one left who is, like, the main head honcho, but, like, you know, he sent the other 2. One of them is Naruto's, like, you know, mom or dad. So that's gonna be a little bit interesting for what's gonna happen in Part 3. Yeah, I just left you on a cliffhanger. Deal with it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tune back in for Part 3 to hear the rest of the story. Peace out.